The warm African sun shone brightly over Maseru, capital of the small mountain kingdom of Lesotho, home of the toughest event on the Southern African off-road calendar. Although the sun was still shining on various parts of the route, the clouds were gathering, threatening heavy overnight rain. At the end of day 2, Franz Czepek Sr. and Jr. topped the results sheet ahead of Corbett and Moore, with Berthold and Mahakhaneni leading Reinecker and Houghton.
The weather's going to be a problem today. We didn't expect this. The rain was only supposed to come this afternoon, but it looks like we're going to drive into the rain, which is very bad for the specials because, you know, we can't see. All the wheels throwing up mud. There's no fenders. Rain comes in, mud comes in.
Following exactly the same route as the previous day, the Epson V Motors Chenoweth led the way in extremely muddy conditions. The competitors started in the order and with the time gaps set on the previous day, and they knew that a very difficult time lay ahead. Berthold and Mahakhaneni followed Corbett and Moore, making a very gingerly start. Behind them, Api Reinecker and Robin Houghton leading the production vehicle category.
In this type of weather, you can slide into one of these dangas or into a river, get stuck, and all sorts of things. So it would be endurance to get through today. And our plan was to keep our heads together and say that we can get the car to the end of the race. If we can do that without delay, we have a chance to win this race today.
Well, no gingerly start for them as the Castrol Toyota Land Cruiser sped away. But at the front of the field, the Czepek combination, here still going strong, would be the first major retirement of the day. The overnight rain had swollen many of the rivers on the route, which added another danger to the already slippery surface. The Czepeks would succumb to electrical failure. Corbett and Moore slid their Jimco out of control into a ditch, where it would stay for at least 10 minutes, despite the enthusiastic help of some of the bystanders. Not even the knobbly off-road tyres could give enough grip for the vehicle to be pulled out of the relatively shallow ditch, which was an indication of the perils faced by the competitors on the third day of this year's Pirelli Lesotho Sun Route of Africa. And it wasn't only the vehicles that struggled for grip on the muddy, gooey surface. Poor old Juan Moore looked like a first-time ice skater as he tried to get back to his vehicle. Out on the road, production vehicle leaders Reinecker and Houghton had passed Bevan Berthold and Atang Mahakhaneni as conditions continued to get worse. Many rivers had swallowed to such a level that it was downright dangerous for competitors to attempt to cross them. Greg Harvey and Boy Stone in their Castrol-backed Jimco were also treading carefully. They were looking for a good result to consolidate their second place in the Class A Championship. Andrew and Chris Birkin were still holding on to their overnight lead in Class E, knowing that nothing less than a class victory in their Toyota Hilux would ensure them that class title that they'd fought so hard for during the season. Despite the desperately tricky conditions, they couldn't back down for a second, while at the same time an accident would be a disaster. Behind them, Chaniel de Villiers and Pete Swanepoel in the Class D BP Nissan hardbody were making good progress. They were second in class overnight, but had started some 10 minutes behind the Class E leaders and were catching up rapidly. In the Class D battle, de Villiers and Swanepoel were trying to close the gap of just more than 11 minutes that they were down on Haasbroek and Bosch in their Toyota Land Cruiser. Unfortunately for the Class D leaders, the conditions would catch up with them later, and they would lose almost 25 minutes to drop to third in class. Probler and Leek, third overnight in Class T in their BP Nissan hardbody, could only hope that conditions would catch out the Reinecker Houghton and Barker Kampfer combinations ahead of them, as they had a massive deficit to make up after their problems of the previous day. On many stretches of the course, the vehicles bunched up in order to help each other out of the mud should they get stuck, and windscreens misting up from the heat inside the cabin added to the problems. Noel and Robin Quinn were trailing the Birkins by about 25 minutes overnight in their Class E battle, and were also hoping to get to the finish. Barker and Kampfer in their Land Rover would strike trouble before the end of the race, just another in the long list of retirements. Not so for the Woolrich-Schulthammer pairing in the Ford Racing Ford Ranger, who drove consistently well and would finish 9th overall and 3rd in Class E. LaRue and Jonker would take Class D in the Colt Rodeo. While Kutsia Labaskachny and Piet Hienis would finish in their Class E Toyota Hilux, the same could unfortunately not be said about Heel Nell and his Golf Trussie. Electrical problems due to excessive moisture were the cause of most of the retirements. A sorry sight as early leaders Franz Czepek Sr. and Jr. are towed by Harvey and Stone. The Epson V Motors Chenoweth had succumbed to electrical failure. As the weary drivers, co-drivers and vehicles that were left entered the service point at the end of the first loop, it became clear that it would be too dangerous to run the second loop as planned. Most of the rivers had flooded and it would be too dangerous, so the clerk of the course decided to cancel that part of the race and to run the first loop a second time. By now, the field had been thinned down to just a handful of vehicles, with Arpi Reinecker and Robin Hausen leading overall in their Class T Castrol Toyota Land Cruiser. With even them struggling in the powerful 4x4, it was anybody's guess as to the final outcome of one of the most difficult Roof of Africa events in recent memory. Mark Corbett and Juan Moore had driven a magnificent race in their Jimco to move up to second place on the road, with the pair seemingly oblivious of the problems bedeviling the rest of the field. Having already taken 2 class victories this season, a third one was definitely looking on the cards. Then, drama struck as race leaders Reinecker and Houghton were crawling along at snail's pace just 8 kilometers from the end. The Castrol Toyota Land Cruiser had struck a rock while crossing a river, causing serious damage to the left front suspension. They had wedged a large stone in between the suspension components to keep the vehicle balanced and crawled over the finish line, having given up the lead to the Jimco. This was a dramatic end to a dramatic race, and the Land Cruiser pair's dogged determination to finish epitomized the true spirit of off-road racing, and they were greeted with loud approval from the crowd at the finish. Reinecker and Houghton did enough to win the production vehicle category, although these results are still subject to confirmation due to protests after the clerk of the course's earlier decision. Mark Corbett and Juan Moore were ecstatic with their first overall and special vehicle victory in a field that was decimated by the adverse conditions. Theirs was the only special vehicle among the classified finishers.
Special vehicles don't really race production vehicles, but it is good to be the first car home, first vehicle home. Yeah.
I would say it was a very difficult day. You know, we had to cross about 25 times the river, and every time we get out of the vehicle, walk through the river, see how deep it is, feel where the rocks is to get on top of the rocks, because if you end up in the loose sand, you get stuck. And also getting up the mountains with all the mud.